Welcome back, treasure hunters. Today we're diving into the lion's share, the box that many believe is the largest, the mother lode, the true centerpiece of there's treasure inside. Could this be the crown jewel, the big one hidden among the five boxes? Let's dig into the theories, the rabbit holes, and the strange clues that might point the way. One of the earliest theories comes from readers noticing something unusual about the page dividers in the book. Unlike other boxes, the lion's share seems to have fewer, and some believe these dividers themselves carry hidden meaning. Take page 170, for example. The divider for this treasure shows what looks like a horizon, and some sharp-eyed hunters swear it even spells out a word. Doesn't it look like a word there on the horizon? Perhaps a city skyline in the distance with the word? Looks like the word sin to me, so Sin City, Las Vegas? Maybe a stretch. What do you see? Las Vegas, the city of sin. Could that be the intended connection? Or are we just seeing patterns in ink and shadows? Another hunter asked the big question, has anyone started creating a map for the lion's share box? I'm thinking the foreign locations and other clues might need to be translated into corresponding U.S. locations on the map. That theory matches the broader idea that John Collins' references to world history, foreign myths, and global events are actually mirrors of American places. A trick of translation, pulling the world into the U.S. to build the map piece by piece. Then came a fascinating observation from Chapter 7, Amelia's autograph. JCB tells us Amelia flew the Lockheed Vega 5B, the same plane in her famous autographed picture. But here's the kicker. The illustration in the book doesn't match that plane at all. That's not the plane in the illustration on page 73. It's a totally different set of wings, and I'm struggling to identify it. Any aviation experts out there? Another reader chimed in. Good catch, but honestly, I doubt it's some deep clue. More likely it's just another example of how rushed and inconsistent this whole project feels. One chapter says it's Amelia's Vega, but the illustration shows a totally different aircraft? That's not a hidden message. That's an editing miss. But maybe not so fast, because others pointed out the artwork shows something else entirely. I find it interesting in that the artwork shows two peaks, much like the written description John uses to describe Restrepo and his men when they find the outlook. A view gapped open between two jagged gray peaks, framing their view on either side. So maybe the error is intentional. Maybe the real clue isn't the plane at all, but the mountains beneath it. Then an aviation expert weighed in with a sharper take. This looks like a great example of an AI plane. The landing gear are in odd places, the wings are different lengths, the engines don't match, the fuselage is too modern, and the windows are too old. This is just AI. The real clue is the mountains below. If that's true, then the illustration itself is a misdirection. The AI randomness hides the real landmark clue right underneath it. On page 114, Collins teases us directly. It's very possible that at least one of our treasure boxes rests not too far from you. You might even discover one during a leisurely afternoon outing in which you enjoy a picnic with a loved one by your side. So how deeply hidden is the lion's share? Shallow enough to stumble upon during a picnic? Or buried deep in history, clues, and contradictions? And then the rabbit holes began. One treasure hunter picked up on a single word on page 197, Eureka. Eureka was coined by Archimedes when he realized how to measure gold's purity. It's also the state motto of California. There's a town named Eureka in Trinity County, the site of a small gold rush. There's a Eureka College in Illinois where Ronald Reagan graduated. There's even a Poe poem called Eureka, and the publisher was the grandfather of Amelia Earhart's husband. It all connects. Or maybe it doesn't. My brain hurts. Another chimed in. You missed one. Ronald Reagan graduated from Eureka College in Illinois. His presidential museum is there, with a peace garden and even a piece of the Berlin Wall. We all know he lived in California too. You can make connections anywhere if you try. And that's the trap of the lion's share. Every thread leads to 10 more. California, Illinois, Reagan, Amelia Earhart, gold purity, state mottos, Greek theorems, even Dorothy's cat in The Wizard of Oz. Finally, another sharp observation. Notice that the page weathering isn't the same texture or intensity each time, but some do match across chapters. It's not consistent. This may be important. And another, I think anagrams are the main device he uses to encode all the clues. Other stuff for sure, but you have to anagram to get anywhere. In chapter 14, John talks about finding escape hatches. Then in chapter 17, Washington hatched a wild plan. By chapter 21, it's traps to fall into. And in chapters 22 and 25, there's lots of door language, even a hatchback. Then on page 236 of Other Treasures, when he's talking about the Vikings, he says they left their treasures buried in caches. Now here's the catch. In the postscript, he says no box is buried under the ground. But people point out that under and in are two different things. One hunter summed it up. Digging a hole covering with a hatch is the same thing as buried. Another, he said in multiple interviews that nothing is buried. He says that in the History for Weirdos interview. But then someone else chimed in. I think a man-made hatch would be something you'd have to enter. It would fall under that category. And the question everyone keeps asking, why was John's early reel, 5 tips to keep your hunt safe, taken down? You know, the one where he said, no scuba gear, no cliff edges, no digging required, keep it safe. That video's gone now. Coincidence? Or was something in there too revealing? On page 208, we get the Tyrona necklace. Stones turned over, the white turtle is up, but no mention of the center gold ceremonial knife. One hunter wrote, why do the beads cross next to the jaguar claw? This image has me scratching my head. And another wondered, could upside down be a clue? Or right side up? Could the white turtle be related to the white mark in the FF poem? That middle gold charm looks like an anchor. Color themes keep coming up. Someone listed Chapter 1, blue. Chapter 2, gold yellow. Chapter 3, gold yellow. Chapter 4, green. Chapter 5, bronze. Chapter 6, red. Chapter 9, gold yellow. Chapter 10, blue. Chapter 11, gold. And they asked, are these color codes clues? Do they connect to the Olympic rings? Remember, blue, yellow, black, green, red, each tied to a continent, and the Atlanta Olympics play a big role in Chapter 16. One hunter even said, my thinking, these colors, the Olympic references, the lion's share clues, the major portion of the book, it all echoes this. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Other hunters zoomed in on repeated door, tunnel, portal language. One person tied it back to Alice in Wonderland, the looking glass in the Pokemon chapter. That mirror transported Alice to an altered reality. Same thing is happening here. On page 172, John literally says, the treasure would reflect parts of me to you. So reflection, palindrome, symmetry, they all might be pointing at how to read the word search or interpret the map. Another thread dove into math. Walking a grid, 3-dimensional. In geometry, you need 3 coordinates to define a point. That's the Cartesian system. So far, we've got 45 degrees in Chapter 11, the page 90 missing, a 100-mile radius in Chapter 16. One hunter broke it down like instructions. See how far to go. Use straight edge as the turning square. Any arc may align at a proper point. That's basically map-making 101. Plot a line, make a right angle, swing an arc with a compass, and see where it lands. Then the discussion got messy. One person, moon rock filling up 4 gym lockers, maybe his school. Another, on page 167, he says, where I grew up, seeing our galaxy is what I miss most, living near a large city. But wait, you'd only see that away from light pollution. What's going on here? Another, one of the Steves sold his minivan. Why repeat the same line? And the kicker, what if the mistakes are intentional? Spider-Man's spidey sense. Maybe that's what he wanted to convey, that feeling when things don't line up. Caught up in the Jackie O chapter tonight. See some things that stand out, just cannot piece together. Anyone have any insight at all willing to share? Vision slash lens slash vivid slash camera slash clarity. Picture of her and Caroline. Somewhat out of place story of a gritty fight to save Grand Central Station. That right there got people thinking scope, glass, and perspective. One reply came quick. I've wondered if the lens, Chandra's vision, Chandra clarity stuff is related to him saying, well beyond my scope, several times. Is that a clue for one of those binocular scope things you often see at like a lookout point? Another person built on that, pointing us toward water and mirrors. Could be. He does say this point is fairly obvious. But again, what type of point are we speaking of? A Washington Monument, Space Needle type point, or a landform? Hints at transparent too, like a window. So glass or water are the only real transparent things I can think of. But I like water more because it can also be reflective, and there's mirror twin themes. Then came a pattern spotter. What gets me is that he mentions minivan and Star Trek in Chapter 1, and then ends Chapter 19 with the same words. Others notice more subtle threads through the chapters. In a few chapters, he keeps mentioning his heart rate, blood pumping, and then came one of those classic Discord reality check moments. Someone jumps in, yes, your message is the closest thing to what I have been saying, thinking for this. People are making it harder than it is, and I see way too much overanalyzing. Keep it simple. There's a morsel of a clue in most of the first 23 chapters. So my morsels led me to the city and park and general area, which is, of course, large. This is where I think we have to use something else to find the starting point at this location to find where it is, like Joy's Serenade, or some other instructional part in the book that leads us to the starting point. From there, we follow a few directions, and then that will lead us to a specific point where the lion's share is. Then we'd have to look in like a 30 by 30 area for it, behind some rock, under dense foliage, in a tree stump, etc. Big moment right there. Basically saying, stop zooming in too hard, the path is already mapped. But of course, debate fired right back up. So it is the opinion of most that the clues to find the 4 smaller boxes are all found in Part 2 only, due to statements made by JCB. I wonder, though, if there is some twist in his words to make people not look for clues of the smaller 4 in Part 1. They give an example straight from the past and future box. Chapter 8, page 75. Artistically, he always kept one eye on the future. But as a person, his heart was bound to the past. Page 77. I love dreaming about the future. I'm grateful for all my connections to the past. Page 78. Charles had a deep respect for his past and Hopi traditions. Then they throw it down. This is just one example. There are other obvious wordplays connecting smaller boxes to Part 1 chapters. I'm guessing the only way to know for sure is to find the P&F box in California, which is completely out of my ability and time, and it have the treasure from Chapter 8. And that wraps up another wild ride through the lion's share theories, from planes that don't match to Eureka, rabbit holes, from Jackie O's lens and clarity to those page textures and anagrams. The drama never stops with, there's treasure inside. But remember, we're only just scratching the surface. If you want to keep up with all of these deep dives, including the stuff you won't see on Discord, join the channel for members-only videos. We'll keep chasing these clues, piecing together the morsels, and we won't stop until this map is finally drawn. Until next time, keep your scope steady, keep your notes sharp, and maybe, just maybe, we'll find the lion's share together.